Hey guys, and welcome back to today's video. And in today's video I'm going to be talking on a very difficult subject, grief. Now if this is something you find difficult to talk about, then maybe click off of this video, but I'm going to be talking about grief and how it can show and present itself for an autistic person. So before I get into the video, don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, to receive notifications every time I upload a new video, and let's get on with it. So what even is grief? Well, grief is defined as an intense sorrow, especially caused by someone's death. Now this could be a family member or a friend or even someone you've worked with or a pet even. For an autistic person, grief can be extremely confusing and overwhelming. We can often struggle to understand our emotions and regulate them, and grief may bring up emotions we are unfamiliar with. This can be really difficult to deal with. Some emotions that an autistic person may feel during grief are anger. Why them? Why not me? They didn't deserve it. Guilt. What if I could have done something to prevent it? Or, you know, I could have reached out more to them or told them not to go to that place, or what ifs. Anxiousness. What if the same thing happens to me? I'm so scared now. You might be crying a lot, and that's totally normal. Withdrawing or shutting down. We all grieve in different ways. If we don't want to talk about it or deal with it straight away, then that's totally fine as well. These feelings are all normal and okay to feel and to have during this time of grief. It is also known that many autistic people strive off of routine and sameness, and since grief isn't straightforward or linear, it can really throw us off or upset our routine, especially if you're never quite sure when grief will hit you. The unpredictability of this can be stressful for any autistic person, especially as they may need more time to process things, which could mean that the feelings and emotions associated with grief may last longer for an autistic person compared to a neurotypical person. So, many of you will know that a couple of weeks ago I was given the sad news that my friend passed away, and for the first day all I really did was cry about it. I was really sad. I'd lost a friend. I could no longer speak to her or reach out to her. She was gone. And then I started to feel really guilty. Guilty that I hadn't reached out enough, that I hadn't messaged her or spoken to her in a while. Guilty that I hadn't done something to prevent it, even though it was completely an accident and totally unexpected. Over the next few days I felt glimpses of happiness, and life seemed to be returning to normal. But then one thing would be said or done or thought of, and it would set me off crying again. It's exhausting not knowing when the grief will resurface. But now that I've had time to process it, the emotions have stabilised out and I feel more at peace about it. And that's not to say I'm not still sad about it or that I've moved on and I'm over the situation, because that's not the case. But it just means that I've come to terms with the situation and I've accepted it, that it has happened, and that I'm learning to be at peace with it and trying to remain focused on the positive memories that my friend and I had together. And that doesn't mean that I'm not still sad for the situation, and that's totally okay to be happy in a time of grief, to remember the happy moments you had with the person. So sometimes the loss of someone can be expected, such as when someone is suffering from a long-term illness. This may be easier to process and deal with for an autistic person, as you know it's coming. You have more time to process the change and what's going to happen, and you can put a plan of support in place for when the grief does hit you. But sometimes loss can be so sudden, like from an accident. For example, my friend passing away. This is unexpected and can be more difficult to deal with, as they haven't had time to comprehend the change or get used to the feelings and emotions associated with grief. Something to be aware of when it comes to grief, too, is that it can be hard to understand for an autistic person, and they may end up masking their feelings and emotions to give the impression that they're fine and everything's okay. This could partly be due to the stigma surrounding autistic people's struggles to regulate emotions. For some autistic people, the way they deal with emotions and feelings of grief may present similarly to an autistic meltdown, which can be seen as disruptive or unnecessary. Because of perhaps maybe being judged for this before, it may make them more likely to mask their emotions as they feel it's not okay to be okay or show how they're feeling. This can really be detrimental to their mental health, as they may feel unable to talk to anyone about it, and they may end up delaying processing the information, which can make it all build up inside until it becomes too much. This can also bring a higher risk to more harmful coping strategies, such as running away, using self-harm, or even turning to an eating disorder. I remember the day when my parents sat us down to tell us they were getting divorced. I was so sad inside, but I felt like I wasn't allowed or supposed to show it, so I pretended I was fine and put on a brave face. That was until my brother started to cry, and I realised it was okay after all, and I became annoyed with myself that I hadn't been the first one to show it, because I felt like I was the one who was struggling the most. Now, I've learnt that it's okay and it's important to show and say how you feel, because it can become so isolating to keep it inside. Grief can be so difficult for any person, but specifically for an autistic person to deal with. So what can you do to help support an autistic person through their time of grief? Well, firstly, don't force them to talk about it if they don't want to. They will when they're ready. Everyone deals with grief differently, and it's important to remember that. Everyone's process is different. What helped one person might not be helpful for another person. Let them know it's okay not to be okay, and that their feelings are completely valid. Create a safe space for them to be able to be open and honest with you. It's so important to not try to make things better. It's a process, grief, and it has to be worked through. With anything, it does no use sweeping over the subject and avoiding it and trying to move past it, because that's not going to be helpful for you later in life when you suddenly have all these emotions you're dealing with, and it's because you suppressed it this whole time. It's good to let it out and to talk about it in your own time and your own way. But it's important to remember that for someone, and to not try and fix the problem, but to listen to them and help them work through it. And that sends me on to my last point. Tell them you're there for them and willing to listen. That's the most valuable thing anyone can do for any person, is just be there for them and listen. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to receive notifications every time I upload a new video, and I'll see you in the next one.